Get my video turned up.
Okay.
Get my video turned up. There we go. What's
there
up?
It is. What's up, man? You doing all right?
I'm doing great. I'm so proud of you, man. I mean, I was thinking about how far and when we met, when you got out of the Marines, man. And it's not about, the story is not about me and you, but people need to understand sometimes about our profession and how we're here to help each other. And it's a good story for another time. And then when we went to the clinic, when you were trying to decide what you were going to do. We went out. Who do we go out with? Spurrier's assistant, right? Mangum?
Yeah, G.A. Mangus.
What a story that was.
Ordering
a pizza in the back door of that restaurant when they wouldn't give us pizza. Holy moly, that was
Long Beach of 07 was when I met you.
Okay, it was 07 before you got out of the Marines?
Yeah, because my mouth was wired shut.
I remember.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, so it was before, and you ended up hooking up pretty well though. You got in with that coach, and that was, man, you were off to the races.
Yeah, I was very fortunate because I met you and Reardon in the same day, that Friday at the clinic. So I got in like Thursday or something, and then I met you and him on Friday, and both said if I end up in Arizona or California, you guys would find something for me to do.
Oh, absolutely.
So
and you know what? And so, it worked out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. So look, I know you're busy, and I really
you're good.
In the time, I'm a little disappointed in the attendance, and I don't know what's going on, but this lineup of speakers is crazy good.
Yeah.
I mean, so you know how it is. If there's one guy, I will speak to him and share. So I got to say, I don't know what happened. I don't know how many guys are going to be here, but I appreciate it. I'm here to learn, so I can't wait.
Dude, anytime I'm in. So anytime.
Awesome. And I've been looking at that video from here to there, the huddle video thing. I check on there and try to learn a little bit of stuff without being able to bother you on questions. That's a great concept to have a library.
Yeah. John, doors open anytime. You know that.
Yes. And I will, because we just got done with our season. We just got done. So probably in the summer, I'll have to catch you when you have some time off.
Definitely.
How'd you guys do?
It was rough. We lost the last one in the last few seconds, or lost the first one in the last few seconds. And then we just kind of got outmatched in the second one, which it's the one team in our league we don't match up to yet physically. They're basically like when we were at UCLA, they're Stanford.
Wow.
We're still kind of undersized. We're young. We're playing a lot of freshmen, and they're built to be in 12 and 22. So it's like the one matchup that we don't sit well with yet. And then we had 3 straight games canceled to end the year.
You know what? I think we're in their time, man. So I'm sorry, people that are here. Let me honor their time, David, and just introduce you like I'm supposed to do. We're excited for our next speaker, David Marsh, he's the quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator at Texas Southern. Prior to that, he served at Campbell University, Texas A&M, and UCLA. David and I met in 2007 when we were met at a coaching clinic when he was newly separated Marine trying to break into high school coaching. So over the years, I've had great satisfaction watching David grow and succeed at an elite level in our profession. So his topic for this session is creating an offensive identity. And Coach, we appreciate that you're taking the time away from your busy schedule to be with us today. Thank you so much.
Coach, thank you. And for those that were there listening, because we kind of both started like old girls starting to catch up and talk about topics and get going. Apologies for wasting some of our time. Like Coach knows, I got into this profession leaving the military, as he just said. And I got in and broke in because of guys like him and Coach Mike Reardon, who did hire me. But we were just joking about when I was in the service trying to get into coaching, and I volunteered for Glazier and met Coach Reardon and met all these great guys who I'm still in contact with now, but they all volunteered jobs. So wherever I was going to end up throughout the country, I was going to be able to break in. Now, I'm guessing most are from California that are attending this. And I was from Arizona and coached in Arizona before I broke into the college level. is it's really interesting to learn is in Texas, you have to be an educator and work at the school to coach. So it was really unique being able to break in that way on our side. But like Coach knows, and from Coach helping me to get into this, I'm always willing to do anything that he needs. And I'm always, and was taught by guys like him, that I'm an open book. Anything that you guys need, don't hesitate to ask, whether it's in the Q&A or in the chat. Please send it forward, whether you want to send it privately because you don't want to ask in front of a bunch of people or whatever. This stuff only works if we're asking questions and getting better, because we're not going to be able to just learn when I'm just talking at you. So please, just whatever you guys have. And at the end, I'll put my information in there. So you guys all have it, cell phone, Twitter, all whatever way you guys want to communicate. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. And kind of jump into why I chose this topic and kind of what the objective of it is. One of the reasons that I chose this year is I felt like I was always doing basic stuff in our offense. I was showing a few things here and there. Now during COVID and quarantine, I was able to share a few more things like our Vegas series, which I'll cover briefly in here. But I thought one of the biggest things that people need to look at is building their offensive identity of who they are and what they are as an offense. I think and I say that because I'm the offensive coordinator, which means I'm the head coach of offense. And that's how I kind of view it, as I prep myself to take on the next job. When I was coaching in other positions, I felt I was a head coach of that position with somebody that was above me. And it just was a way to help myself prepare for the next job of taking that mindset into what I was doing. So with this one is building an offensive identity, is this is kind of the mindset of being the head coach of offense, but not doing just a culture topic. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I mean that that's a head coach's job, is to build the program's culture and establish that culture. We have a great collection of head coaches that are going to be on here this week that are going to be talking about culture or program identity and stuff like that. So I wanted to be in here just talking specifically about the offensive identity, but kind of leave it a little vague in certain aspects so you guys can also plug and play what you do on offense. So real quick, we'll go over a few things and why we do things the way we do. And then there will be some scheme, but when we get to the scheme, or if we get to certain parts of the identity side of it, please ask whatever you have. All right. So here's my background just real quick. Coach named off all these places already, but I was an outsider to the profession coming in from the military. So I had a leadership and a teaching background with that. And then I got the football background going to Mesquite High School in 2008 through 2010, Saguaro High School in 11 and 12, which is one of our state powers. At Mesquite, it was completely different. This was a place that had not won before. They had never hosted a playoff game. I think they had been to one playoff or made the playoffs once in school history until we got there. We hosted back-to-back home playoff games while we were there. And then I was fortunate enough to go over to Saguaro High School after that and become the offensive coordinator there before I was able to break into the college level at UCLA from 13 to 15 under Coach Mazzoni, which is where I learned a lot of the principles of creating an identity and philosophy and structuring your offense. And then at Texas A&M, learning the leadership of Kevin Sumlin and going back into some of my roots of research of the air raid and working directly for my current boss, Clarence McKinney, there at Texas A&M. And then I was fortunate enough in my short time at A&M to land the offensive coordinator job at Campbell, which was a non-scholarship Division I school under the belief that they were going to be transitioning to scholarship, which we did in 2018. And then after that, I returned back to Texas, like I said, with Coach McKinney from Texas A&M in 2019, and we've been here since. So as you see, from outside it to two high schools, a big school that wasn't very good, middle size school that was really elite, and then some different Power 5 schools to smaller schools. All right, so there's been different building or rebuilding or projects everywhere we've gone. All right, so for myself, just talking my numbers, since I'm the one responsible for them, whether I'm getting fired or getting promoted over, is we're going to look at some of by the numbers of what we've done in our first year transitioning this offense into wherever we go. All right, at Campbell from 16 to 17, we went from 35th before I got there to 17th. Red zone went from 111th to 33rd, and scoring went from 49th to 17th. All right. Now, yeah, some of that looks good, but the biggest one that I did not put on there because it's the overall school was we got our first winning record that the school had had. All right. So that was our biggest thing. But you see some of the instant jumps that we had. All right. And the numbers that I like to point out right here is these, mainly because one jumps so much really here, but it's still not great. And then you see it's not just a magic spell offense. Like we improved the next year when we went to Texas Southern from 90th, 94th to 31st, but we did not improve these areas basically at all. All right. So it's not always just a magic potion that you're going to come in and be able to fix everything right away overnight. You can fix certain things and you can get your foundation laid in the first year, but you're not always going to be able to just remedy it the first year. And we have to stay with the plan of creating and putting in that identity. Now, it is a player-friendly offense in the fact that in our 2 years at Campbell, we had 2 back-to-back freshmen that were up for the Jerry Rice Award for his top freshman in the country. Daniel Smith, who has since transferred, broke every school record, passing, rushing, everything, is now at Villanova. And then Caleb Sneed, that came on strong as a freshman for us there in our second year there. And then last season in 2019, Donnie Corley came in and was the newcomer of the year in the SWAC as a wide receiver. All right. And then just as far as numbers are concerned, at Campbell, we had 2 guys that were first team all conference. All right. So as you see, it's very player friendly. I didn't put up all the accolades, all the records broken, but it was one of those things that I wanted to point out that it's something that's easy for the kids to learn and get good at and maximize what they are given by their God, their creator is just that natural ability that we recruit them for or develop them for. All right. One of our top quotes that we live by in our building right here, and this is why we think of it as player friendly, is we don't want to use 6 words when 3 will do, and we don't want to use 3 words when 1 will do. Anytime we're all educators, at the bottom heart of this is we want to get to the simplest way to explain something to a kid so they can just go out and play as fast without thinking as they can. All right. Now, offensively, and I apologize for this, I wanted to have some film of this, just one clip of each one of these things, just to put in some key notes, but for some reason I didn't get it transferred over, blaming it on the age at this point of technology getting the best of me. But this comes from Hal Mummy, as you see the quote in the bottom right, and Mike Leach. This stuff never changes. All right. You go to anybody that has a background and foundation in the air raid offense, none of this will change. We're going to run pat and go every day. We're going to throw fades and we're going to throw slants and we're going to get really good at them. But the biggest thing in pat and go and routes on air is that bottom right comment. All right. You have to have a great capacity for boredom. And it's not just the players doing pat and go every day. You have to be able to coach it every day. Every day. You have to go out there, whether you're the quarterback's coach, nitpicking on how their feet are being placed, where they're placing the ball. Are they getting it up and out on time? Learning to get the ball out before the wide receiver outruns their arm strength. To teach that it's putting the ball in the wide receiver holding the red line or the bottom of the numbers to the sideline, however you want to reference it, and then letting the ball pull them to the sideline. The biggest thing that Leach and Mummy developed that everybody that's learned under them since has been to bucket throw these fades. The go ball and the fade ball was, I think, when they released the study, it was an 18% completion throw in the NFL and college. They jumped it all the way up to 30-something plus. All right. I think even higher than that is they learned how to take a throw that everybody says is a low percentage and get really good at it because they no longer put it on the quarterback to be perfect at throwing the ball. It's on the wide receiver keeping space and adjusting the ball. What is the one thing we all do as young people learning how to play to throw and catch? We just run down the street and throw it up, and you learn to Willie Mays it and look over your shoulder or behind you and track the ball. You don't teach yourself how to run a corner route. You learn how to run fades and go balls. And it goes right to routes on air. And then ball security, still got a nitpick on that. Blitz pickup. Blitz pickup is just the pat and go on routes on air for the O-line and the running backs, sorting out every pressure that they're going to see. perimeter and one-on-one. So you learn who can block, who can't block, how to block different looks. You're getting all the BPU looks for the perimeter wide receivers to throw your uncovered screens and be able to pick it up. One-on-one, getting that you to me factor developed between the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. And then tempo. These last three things are something that I've learned from, whether it was tempo from Coach Mazzoni and some other guys that I've worked for, situational practices, which is a big Jim Mora thing, and Coach McKinney thing, is we're going to practice certain situations every day. We're going to hit certain situations multiple times in camp just through check throughs. All right. So those things are always going to be worked. And then specials. If you ever watch game film of mine, you know I'm the worst play caller in the world when it comes to calling trick plays. I just don't do it. But one of the things that I do is any of our unique thing, double passes, reverses, screens, unbalanced formations, special formations, any of the weird stuff, we practice and we normally install as one-word plays so that they become rudimentary and basic for our kids. So it's fundamental that if I call Godzilla or King Kong, which are two special plays for us, our kids right now, if I signal King Kong on a FaceTime, my quarterback could talk me through the play. And to me, that's the biggest thing, is these are things that we got to practice all the time. So they just become basic parts of the offense. All right. And then self-evaluation. So this is kind of the old school goal board. I've never been around a place that uses it, of the 250 yards passing, 250 yards rushing, 4.7 yards a carry, any of that stuff. I've never been around that. I've never been with guys that believed in that. This is the stuff that I've always been taught or has been important. The 12% comes from Coach Mazzoni. Explosives comes from Coach Mazzoni and Coach Minner over at Campbell University. And then conversion, of course, is something that every coach is paying attention to, is your conversion rate. All right. So the 12% rule, I'm just going to hit it real quick so we can stay on the run, is sacks, turnovers, drops, and penalties. Every time you take one of those, it goes against your percentage of your total snaps. So if you have 90 total snaps in a game, which normally was our goal when I was with Coach Mazzoni, when we wanted to just get as many snaps as we could, if you had over 11 of those take place, of sacks, turnovers, drops, or penalties, you were over 12%. And anytime you were over 12%, you gave yourself a 92% chance of losing the game. If you were under 12%, you were at a 92% chance of winning the game. One of the weirdest stretches that we had was Utah, Washington State, and somebody else back to back in a 3-week span in 2015 at UCLA. We lost one on a 2-minute drill. We won one on a 2-minute drill. And then we had one of the flukes where we were over the 12% and won the game. So it was one of those things that we were at 12.6 and 11.8, and both were last minute 2-minute drill games. And then the one fluke where we were at like 13%, we still won, but it was a fluke of just random stuff that we did against a team that we were better than. But again, we overcame it with talent, but it made it a closer game. Explosives, we want one in every 8 plays, whether it's a 12-yard run or a 16-yard pass. We want one in every 8 plays. We believe that whoever has the most explosives is normally going to have the best chance to win the game. Normally, if you have one explosive, your percentage of scoring goes up dramatically. Then if you have 2 explosives per drive, it goes up to 80-something percentage of scoring. And not just scoring field goals, scoring touchdowns. And then lastly is conversions. This is a big thing that we focused on. And I purposely let myself show failure of where we were at in red zone and scoring in that first year here at Texas Southern. And I know we had an abbreviated season like most of you out there in California. Is our score zone, we ended up tied for first in the country this year in the abbreviated spring season of score zone percentage. So that was a big goal for us to jump that high and jump that fast. Of course, it was abbreviated as it gets out, but it's one of those things that we got to continue to work on. And then third down, same thing. Okay, so now getting into the identity of who we are. Okay, our installation comes right from Leach as far as the belief of an ABC or a 3-day rotational install. I have a hard time calling it a 3-day rotation when practices are also called by a number. So I don't know how I'm on day 1 if I'm on practice 7. That's just me admitting that my brain can't correlate that stuff. So we refer to it as the ABC days. And within that, everything is broken into 3 equal parts. All right, as you see our base component of A day, B day, and C day right there. That is just for us. Now, I will tell you, I will highlight it. This changes and this changes based off of who I'm working with. All right, I'm going to adapt the offense based around the coaches that we're with and who I'm with. One of coach's buddies and one that he introduced me to years ago really made me think about coaching and just working with different people. Coach Steinberg, when he talked about, he did not run zone at this point. This was a long time ago now. We won't go into the years, but he was a gap man and trap scheme guy. And for me, that just, it baffled me because everybody at the high school was switching over to all the shotgun zone read stuff in its infancy. And for me, it always struck because he never said it that he didn't like zone. It was on the principle that he wanted what his coaches could coach. And the more and more that I go and visit people, I ask about the same schemes that I already run, about how they coach them to see if I can get them better. All right. But I also ask because I see if they adapt around their coaches that they have. And so to me, that's the biggest thing. We are going to always be on an ABC day. I can only call A plays on A day, B plays on B day, and C plays on C day. This is all fall camp and all spring camp. This is all we do in its infancy. And then we adapt and start adding all the complements off of it. So a sample of our 3-day rotation, which is allows the kids to get comfortable and master these things, not just get good at something, but master them, is our sample A day. So this is what an A day basic would look for us right now, or what will look like in June 1st when we get to start our off-season install for the fall. All right, this is what we came out of spring ball with, is our best plays. Okay, so we're gonna have zone, which is our primary run of that day for A day. We're gonna have toss and option, which is the same blocking scheme, which is 90% the same play as zone. So the line's gonna ID and pick up everything like they do in zone, but we just have a different complementary play to protect our base primary play zone. All right, so we're going to protect you with 2 plays. All right, then we're going to protect you with a movement play, which is our Vegas series. All right, and then we're going to protect you with a play action off the same thing. Finally, we will have a show screen, which is just token action by the back, showing inside zone to a leak slow screen to the running back. Okay, so that is 6 plays right there, without any presentation, without any changeup, where the line is IDing inside zone. In 5 of those, they're all doing inside zone with maybe 10% slight modification. And really, toss, option, and fox and pop, the only change is the backside tackle. All right, and we'll get to that in just a second because I have some clips of each of those. But Vegas and zone, they have the same responsibility. Just on Vegas, they don't go downfield. So they're really not changing anything. All right, so here's a sample of plays from A day. All right, so just A day inside zone. Without discussing this, because I will leave this to another time, or if you guys ever want to call or come visit and really talk just inside zone and how we protect it with the perimeter, is we're going to run inside zone up front. We're going to tag some type of access to the non-read side. Okay. And then on the read side, if this is our read end, we will have some type of run to throw RPO. In most cases, the quarterback will have pre-snap access to this side if he can bang a hitch or bang it out, or he will have pre-snap access to a wide receiver on this side. From there, we are going to read the end. If he gets a pull read, he is in run to throw mindset. We are not recruiting our quarterback to be a runner. I've been at places where our quarterbacks are a runner and led the nation in rushing and finished like 3rd or 4th in the country in rushing, even from the quarterback position. Right now, that is not what we want to do. And really, we never want to be in that position. It just becomes a bonus. But we want to run to throw action, and then we just keep dressing this up each day. Our perimeter tags, most of the time, if they are not in tempo, will come from the quarterback based off of leverage. Okay, so here's a couple clips. I think this is our first year at Texas Southern. Losing. I don't know what what I did. Apologies right there, fellas. Okay. So first down, chain still moving, lining up. Quarterback is taking forever. I'm probably losing my cool on the sideline. All right. Is the chains aren't moving, but they're set, which means that the quarterback is taking way too long. Okay. Secondly, all right. So just talking some scheme. Access wise, he's got the out right there with the way that corner's playing. Second look is he's got access here against this mini quarters look where you got a Mike inside, a nickel Sam outside, and a safety high. Pre-snap, he has access. Coaching the quarterbacks, if he has access, he will abort the run and step out of it and make the throw. This is not taking and not doing a great job coaching from my position as the QB coach, is he's putting the ball down and stepping into it instead of just getting the ball out here to the wide receiver. Now he gets it out here because Dre always had a quick release and can spin the ball, but we want this ball out there even faster. Secondly, we got to continue doing a better job on the perimeter is we watch this guy put himself in danger by ducking his head instead of just cutting him right there or being aggressive and taking it to him instead of just taking it in the face right there. All right. Base play for us, this is kind of where we start. Everybody runs some type of base inside run, inside zone. So I'm not going to hammer home the inside portion of it. But this is our baby. This is where we start. This is everything that we talk about. We always start with inside zone. Okay, so same thing. Another inside zone against an odd look. So we get a fan on the front side, kind of scoop it out like it's a bear look or a jam look and read the backside end. Right underneath. So we saw a 1st and 10 from tempo. Now we see a 3rd and short, all right, with the same exact play. We're going to get our kids really, really good at what we do, all right, and continue to do it and then just keep changing the presentation. Not the play. We're going to get them to master something, not keep changing stuff. Okay, so here's Vegas. I talked about this in length in another clinic. I believe it is on YouTube that somebody posted, but I'm also available to talk about it in more depth if people want to talk about this series. Very much, if you run naked, bootleg, any of that stuff, very, very rewarding play that is not very costly because it's stuff you already do. All right, so in this sense, we're going to run naked or inside zone left. The back is going to set and then seal the C-gap defender, whoever it becomes. All right. Quarterback is going to take quick game footwork to look at the single receiver and tag him on a throw. If he can make that throw, he's going to take it every time. Then he's going to get into sprint out, and he's reading flat with the curl if they overflow from the inside to the comeback. But he's really thinking, I'm trying to get the ball to the flat right now. And then based off of where the flat's being taken away is where he's going to go with the ball. Okay, so here's the first one, 3-by-1 to the field. Great way to take advantage of these odd teams with the weird angles and the 4 eyes. Raise up and bang this hitch. Okay, second off schedule, you're sitting at 2nd, 7.5, 8. All right, off schedule. All right, bang it. Gain 4 or 5 yards, and now we're sitting in 3rd and manageable in a good situation going forward. Okay. Same thing, same formation, another 3-by-1. As you see, he gets a little excited. Corner's been jumping some of the hitches, but I'd still like him to take that space right there. But he comes off, and as you see, and you'll see we have a couple clips of this game, C-gap defender, overhang. Quarterback feels that the overhang's trying to play this wide and play force right there to take him away. And he sees flow from the nickel, so he just raises up and bangs the curl. Now, with the way they were run fitting us and playing pass defense against us, the windows were opening to this curl quite often. So the quarterback in game was creating a bad habit of half rolling and stopping to bang this curl. We do not want this footwork to take place where he's just stopping naturally thinking that he's going to have it every time. And this can become a bad habit. coaching point wise. All right, so we want to kind of skippy out so he doesn't outrun the pace of the quarterback, but we also want the seam curl. All right, we want him to outside release whoever number 2 is, because that's what's going to open his window off this defender that is going to chase the flats. When he goes inside, now he goes inside because this nickel is buzzing, but we get lucky that nobody from the inside comes to him. If this defender starts to drop or this defender starts to drop towards him, he's getting taken away from the inside, and this guy's able to take away the outside throws, and now the quarterback has nowhere to go with the ball. All right, so that's a big coaching point for us from the perimeter standpoint, is we want to go outside the number 2 defender. And then you'll see right here, I believe our left tackle comes out a little lackadaisical. We want inside zone footwork right here. We want it, like the center's about to, the first 2 steps is about the closest that we had, but you see how all upright they get. That's not what we want. We don't want this tackle coming back in. It's gap protection. You're just running a naked left protection wise. So that's something that we had to keep cleaning up is a year, and the 2 years, well, almost 3 years have now gone by. Okay, same game earlier in the game, same thing. You'd wish that he would take this, but you see that he's not even getting the ball loaded. His right foot isn't even in the ground, and he's getting ready for the sprint out. So that's one of those things that we got to make sure after games or in game, if we can see it from the press box, we want our guys to start chirping on so we can get his mind right, not to get in the mind that he's always going to have the sprint outside. He has to take the hitch every chance that he gets. Same thing. Same curl. As you see, he's had it a lot in this game. Let's see what else we got. Okay. So now, all right, I got a bad tag over here by this single. Thank goodness the quarterback didn't try to work him. But now nobody's taking it away. And the nickel's taking the curl away from the outside, which means we have no flat defender, no number 2 out there taking the flat away. So we're going to get the ball out to the perimeter right now. This is one of those coordinator games that you just really, really question yourself in life. As you guys saw that score, we had 700 and something yards of offense or something like that in this game and only scored 13 points. I think we had 5 or 6 turnovers in the red zone. But right here, so 3-3 stack team, they jump into 4 down, still playing a post safety look. All right, get out to the perimeter. Back gets a little wide. He's got to see that there is no edge threat. So for coaching the running backs, we talked about setting the edge and setting that C gap. He has no danger defender outside because neither one of these guys can come because we have 3 over 2 right here. All right, so he's got to know that it's going to be one of these 2 people become his danger defender. There's no reason to get as wide as he does right here when that guy's going to be the danger defender. Almost loses it, but now the Mike starts to run with the flat and then sink to the curl. And then the nickel bumps out to the flat as well. There's nobody left for the quarterback playing that look. And that's besides getting to the comeback when the nickel sits on the flat, this would be the final option for the quarterback, just like in any bootleg or naked options. Okay, A-Day, so this is an option play, very basic for us. And this is something that Coach, having played in the Houston Veer down here in Houston when he grew up here. So option has become a base staple for us. It's a base play that we practice. It is a play that we normally only run as a check or blitz pressure check, but we will run it in practice just to practice it. And we're going to do it off the freeze action. So the line is still working inside zone. Tackle's still going to be through, but now he knows that the play is going to be labeled as a load scheme. So he's through on zone and then climbing to seal. Guard is the same thing, through unless they both are comboing somebody, or he doesn't have one tech and he can climb up as well based off the technique that they have. So that is the biggest difference that we have up front. That's the only thing that changes. In the backfield, both quarterback and running back are going to take one step in the inside zone to make that end sit or seat himself into his run fit, and then we will run option off of it. Okay, so this is the first time we ran it this year, 3rd and 4. All right, it was our first 3rd and medium play call on our script. So it was just right off the bat. We knew we were going to get a 6-man box. We're going to try to seat this end, get him to run fit into a C gap, get this tackle to be able to climb, and get the ball to the edge. One more time. Okay, there it is. As you see the tackle, he feels that guy's a little wide and doesn't get anywhere, so he's just one in, get him to sit, and then climb vertically. Great job by that right tackle right there. And then the backfield. Good job by the back. Wish the quarterback would pause just a little bit longer. But good job. And then for us, get the ball to the back as soon as that guy is not chasing him down. We want to get the ball in the running back's hands because that's who we recruit to carry the ball. All right. Now here's a true freshman that we lost 2 guys in the first game. All right, so true freshman comes in, not the runner that the other 2 guys are, but 4th and short, go to speed option, get the ball back out to the perimeter again. Great conversion rate play for us. Okay, so here, this is a young guy at tackle. All right, so his linebacker is now mugged. He's got to understand that there's nobody to go to. That's the guy that you're trying to seal. You don't have anybody to climb to. I think this is the first series he might be in. This is his first game that he's ever played in for us. All right. He just knows I'm supposed to seal and load this side. So he's getting ready to leave a 3 tech when there's nobody to climb to because the new 3 tech is his bubble backer. And then Fox. We have Fox, we have lock, we have different ways to call it. We have a million different patterns that we can put on it. Anything that you can think of where he's vertical and he runs a bender. Basically anything where you're faking the screen and you're getting 2 guys vertical. Okay, so this is our first play action that we put in. All right, here's a 2-minute drill right before halftime with the backup quarterback going in. Go token action because the clock was getting ready to run. So it was one of the fastest places we could get called in. All right, that everybody knew what we were doing. And you just got post swing or post stock wheel. All right. And you wish the back again, quarterback, wide receiver chemistry, right? They have it because they've done it, but you can see that it's not perfect. And whether it's the guy being in on his first drive as the backup quarterback after the first injury or what, but this should be a walk-in touchdown. And when you're getting the 0 shell safety, even though it's not a 0 pressure, you wish that he would just kind of let him go get the ball instead of trying to throw it like a slant. Great job down at the 1, able to convert it on another play action version of Fox 1 play later. So inside zone, again, left guard. He's got 2 guys out there that they're going to. You need to be aggressive and show zone towards 96. You know that that's your guy. Go get him. That's a little too passive. And even from the right guard, that's a little too passive. We would like them to, for their first 3 steps, run inside zone. So we call it run action pass. So I'm going to slow down just for O-line guys if anybody's in here. We want run action pass of fitting your first 3 steps, then resetting your hips. We feel that we don't have to add protections. We just have a term for it that tells you that it's the pass play off the run play that we're calling. That you can get guys to run fit. We know that we normally put our best players on defense as high school coaches. It's the same thing in college. They're normally going to out athlete and be better players than offensive linemen. All right, so we really want to put them in the best possible situation by not having them pass set against a better athlete as many times as we want to throw the ball. Here it is again. Okay, so here it is from tempo. Okay, you see this guy running off the field. This corner is lined up over this guy, doesn't realize that that's actually the number 2 receiver. All right, and this is a big you to me factor. So we run this play. I think we ran it 5 times in this game and 3 times in the previous game. We run a lot of the same looks, and we run a lot of the same pattern combinations for this guy. So his glance route is 5 steps and then bend to where the grass is. Well, he sees that the grass is straight ahead, and they just have enough chemistry to know that I can just go and he'll throw it to me. Okay, so running the same play at tempo, we have a true freshman and a senior working together and had done enough chemistry from doing all of our routes on pat and go, and all the little things that we do to develop this offense. Even though he wasn't always the starter, they knew what they were doing, and we got rolling right there. All right, so it was one of those things that just one human error in a base play for us is what causes it. All right, just like how Navy and the academies use the option where they're going to expect you to make a mistake, which is going to lead to their explosives. We use tempo for that perspective. All right, so here it is again, later in the same game. All right, still running the same stuff. All right, but again, at tempo and just taking advantage of the human factor of throwing so many screens, we throw a bunch of different combinations of screen and goes at you, which we have, I think in this game, we carried 4 or 5 variations of them through one-word plays or game plan specifics, but we're able to get shots off of basic stuff, and it's a 1-2 to a check down for the quarterback. Okay, so personnel. So I thought I'd touch on this one because I think the offenses are changing. You're not just lining up in 2x2 static anymore, 3x1 static. You're playing with tight ends. You're playing with hybrid tight ends, inline tight ends, extra tackles. You really see like the Lincoln Rileys of the world who have really taken his air raid background from Leach and made it almost a pro style offense. He's in a lot of different personnel groupings or makes it look like it, but he's putting his best 12, 13, 14 guys on the field, whether it's a short, stocky, tweener, hybrid fullback kid that plays wing and they can do a little bit of slot stuff. It's an inline tight end that can flex out but can't really do the wing slider stuff. Is we all have had those guys at the high school level. So to me, whether it's the hallways or me recruiting high schools, is we got to go find guys that we can get that we want, but we also got to find a way to take advantage of the guys that we have. Whether when I was at Campbell and we were taking over a 12 personnel, 21 personnel pro style offense, or here where we only had one real tight end when we got here. And then we had inline blocking tight ends that couldn't do some of the other stuff that we wanted, is we've had to adapt and make some personnel packages out of that. The other part is spring ball, which goes right back to we start over every spring, every fall camp. We start our installation all over again. June 1st, my kids will have the 3rd time that they've installed this offense this year. January when we started spring winter camp. Spring ball, they started it over. And now June 1st, so they'll start it over, and then they'll start it over in August. All right. So we start it over every year. We're going to start it in 2x2. We're going to start in 3x1. Then we're going to create other formations, but we're going to see what guys can do. If a guy can't run really well, I'm going to put him in the position that runs a lot of the underneath routes, our H spot. If he's really good at just finding grass, like a soccer player that's coming out for the first time, I'm going to probably put him at the Y spot and let him just naturally find it. But I'm also not going to pigeonhole certain receivers and make them play slot or outside because that's what they look like in our mind. I'm going to find the best position that these guys can do it at. All right. And then my last phrase, and this comes back to, again, learning from Coach Rice and Coach Steinberg and Coach Reardon, is the biggest thing that I think in this offense and in our philosophy is we have a coach's playbook and a player's playbook. We are going to learn as much as we can about as much as we can and build volume in our offense that we know as coaches. That doesn't mean that it's going to get installed. I might have a QB power style running guy like a Cam Newton or a Tim Tebow. That's a whole different version of the offense than I have right now with the guy that I have that's going to sit in the pocket and wing the ball 45 times. All right, so it's just you gotta keep researching. Don't just have the manual to whatever offense that you're running this year, but continue to advance what you want to learn. But that doesn't mean everything needs to go into the kids, because you got to play to whatever your kids can do, because every year our kids are going to be a little bit different. We all know each team is its own individual team. All right. So talking about personnel. So we're going to talk about a base, another Fox concept. So now we're going to get a stock slant by the outside guy and a bubble wheel by the inside guy. Okay. So this has been a base thing for me since Campbell. I took it from the guys at Arizona, Coach Smith. Thank you again. Like another guy that's just been willing to share with me. All right. And so it's just 1 to 2 and then basically run unless you have the back on a check down. All right. So this is a big play that we will game plan and we will move guys around to use, whether it's our tight ends, our wings, double tight end, is we're going to move guys around. All right. So this week we're using it off of motion because they would normally auto spin these safeties down, opening the hole for the slant wheel concept. You see the patience by the outside guy, act like he's stalking, and then just chase the grass right there. Okay, forgot that game at 3 angles. Okay, another look at it, another game plan situation. Don't change the play, change the presentation. Have the big tight end outside, have the outside receiver inside on a tight end. We knew they were going to play some form of man or their red 7 defense. Okay, so now we're going to get a matchup of a corner on a tight end and a linebacker on him. So whether it's zone or man, we knew we had some matchups that we liked. Okay, so ended up with a pressure 0. Back needs to see it sooner and abort. But now you have a safety with bad eyes staring at the bubble action, sees the slant, and then gets crossed up and able to score a touchdown. All right, so again, matchups and personnel based, but the same play. Okay, again, now from wide, now we're going to use the wide old Baylor splits. All right, so not as big as a bubble look, but just a flat screen. All right, and then the stock slant. Now this is the fastest kid on the field for either team. All right, and I think this is the first time in his life that he ever got hawked down. Like he starts cruising right there, doesn't even realize that the guy's behind him. He's an all-time leader in Texas history of touchdowns receiving, and it was the first time in his life he was ever caught. Coach Thurman, as soon as we start wrapping this up, I will get you with that question, but that's a really good one that I want to address when we get to the Q&A session. So here's another one. Here's a 7-man slide pro. So a little token 7-man play action. It was one of our base RPOs that week of the bubble. Now we're going to go trail, hit the slant, bubble wheel. So again, we've seen 3 or 4 different ways to get to this. All right, with hiding personnel, changing matchups. Okay, now again off of motion, but now this is our best guy that we've been moving around all day. As you see, they have guys chasing him. Now they end up with 6 eyeballs on him and nobody on the outside receiver. So not only personnel that you're using it to get the ball to certain personnel, use the matchup of the human error, which I don't think we talk about as coaches enough, is how do we manipulate error, not only in tempo, but other ways. Take advantage of, we've game plan, we're going to throw this dude the ball on flat routes and little screens or options over here that their eyes are going to start going to him, that when this guy comes out all lackadaisical, he's going to burn in there real quick. Okay, all right, so last one of this, and then we'll move on to the next section. All right, so this is when I had a bunch of tight ends. Okay, so we get into the red zone. We go 12 personnel pistol. Okay, now we'll get into this with tempo. So anybody that is a a heavier set guy or does a lot more formation stuff. We did do tempo out of our 12 personnel. So this week for this formation signal, we just gave it a name, and it was built in that it was auto shifting to a 4x0 unbalanced set. So purple or whatever we wanted to call it for the week, they knew that that was our 12% gasser series where there was going to be built-in shift to it, and we were going to be rolling with it. Okay, so shift. Now we're going to go same thing. Okay. And there's a little more aggressive old line play right there for the run action pass. Dude probably is a little too far down. And then again, now this is press 0. Okay, so watch how this guy speeds his slant up knowing that he is the man beater. All right. So there was like 4, 5, 6 ways that we just went through of different ways of running a base 2-man concept for us. Base run action pass play to protect your inside zone, protect your pass concepts, and protect your own line by having them run action pass it, but through different personnel and different looks to take advantage of the guys that you have in the hallways. Okay. Now this one I put in here because I think this is one of the biggest things I've learned in the last couple of years, talking to different guys from certain coaches, is they adapt their system. 80% of their system's always going to be the same. The core 60 will always go in every year. Another 20% will always go in, but like in various stages of it. And then the last 10 to 20% is around their coaches. Is we have to know our own strengths and weaknesses. What can I coach really well, and what can I coach? What am I not doing a good job of getting taught? And so one of our biggest phrases from the military, especially the Marine Corps, is know thyself and seek self-improvement. So always continue to understand what you're not getting done, and don't think that it's shots or argumentative to critique somebody and talk about what we're struggling at teaching. To me, if we're not getting better and being able to be critical of each other as coaches and colleagues and friends, then we're not going to get better. All right. Adapt. Coach's playbook versus player book. I already talked about that. We got to keep adapting. That doesn't mean change and wholesale change. Don't go to a clinic or come see me and all of a sudden want to run my offense. This is the stuff that I'm comfortable teaching and I've spent time mastering. So it's what I run. All right. Everybody's going to run their own thing. And then also within that of coaches is your background. Everybody's going to bring some different stuff. Coach, my boss being from the option world, has a lot of philosophy, and so did Coach Mazzoni, having run split back veer, is they have a lot of beliefs, whether they talk about it or not, coming from the option philosophy or option viewpoint of running a play. We do this until they take it away, and then we do this. All right. And then wing T, bunch, run and shoot. Whatever their background is, take advantage of their teaching ability. All right. When I was at Campbell, our old line guy was a big gap guy. We were more of a gap team there, even whether it was quarterback run game or 2-back stuff, because it allowed us to take advantage of his skill set, to take advantage of what he was better at. We were better at running tempo with him if we wanted to run zone than we were lining up and running zone. Where if we wanted to line up and check plays or make the play right, we were better at running gap stuff. All right. But don't be disheartened when we're trying to get better in those situations. All right. And then tempo. So this is our bread and butter. I thought I liked playing fast. I don't think I have any behind left, because all the time, it's like, if we're not going to go fast, get in the huddle. Like it's all that all the time around here. All right. So with that, what can you do at tempo? One, you have to keep it simple, and it has to be your base offense. All right. So with that, you can run zone. You can run gap schemes. I don't know if you can really run man schemes doing that way. I also don't think you can run every pass concept in your offense at tempo. Because if guys are not lined up and you want the quarterback to read the weak safety to tell him which way to go with the ball, he's not going to be able to decipher any of that. If you have any advanced quarterback teaching in that way, you're not going to be able to do it. But if you use progression reads or just yes-no reads, or you're in some of the other concepts of the world right now of you're tagging one guy that's getting the ball on the deep choice concept stuff, you can run that stuff at tempo, because the quarterback's really only looking at one thing, and it's, is there grass or no grass to throw the guy the ball? All right. And then zone, because you can track it off if they're not lined up right. And then gap, because you can track it off in the gap world of gap down backer. And then why use tempo? Philosophy or schematic? To me, there's different reasons. We do it because we believe in using tempo for human error, for wearing people down mentally and physically and taking advantage of that, but also schematic. You can do certain things at tempo better than you can lined up. But you can also play with tempo of playing really fast or really slow, freeze checking them and then changing formation or adding motion. So I think there's different reasons to it. Don't do it just because everybody thinks it's the in vogue thing to do. Is you see almost everybody that went tempo has gone away from it or uses it in spurts. To me, the best thing is to find out what your defensive guys don't like and do it for that reason. If they don't like it all the time, do it all the time. If they don't like it because you keep changing it and they can't get a rhythm, do it to keep changing it, keep changing pace. But find a reason that fits you and your personality on using tempo. And then you got to practice it if you want to play in it. Communication has to be really simple. O-line's got this guy has to come for the O-line guy, the head coach, and the coordinator. Is you got to spot the ball. He's got to get up and get down. And then one of the biggest tricks that we've learned over the years is the ball carriers. We want them to give the ball back to the middle ref. You're going back to where the center is anyway to find out what the play is. Give the ball to the ref that's going to spot the ball instead of handing it to an old guy that's going to drop the ball on the ground and then throw it back and forth when you can just run it right back into the middle. All right, so tempo zone. We're a big FIB team when we're using tempo, unbalanced, unique formations. And then that the defense has to not only check, get a play call from the sideline, then they got to make auto checks to bunches, wide splits, stack splits, or FIB. All right, so we want to use things that are going to make them check their already called play. All right, so here's some tempo from inside zone from this year and just some of the stuff we've done. Okay, so inside zone, still just getting lined up, bad snap, quarterback still able to get it out. I'm sorry, computer's freezing a little bit. All right, just get the ball back out on the perimeter. Now, I chose this one because it's good, positive play. But when we come in on Sunday, look at the leverage from working the perimeter, Jill. This wide receiver just worked his feet to seal the sideline. We want the ball all the way out to the tunnel. All right. The danger defender is coming from inside and from high with a two-way go, outside and inside. If you hide in here, you can hide behind him and create a better angle to get out here and get into the tunnel. So that's what we always want. We don't want him running in there. He's getting tackled by the danger defender, which is the defense alignment. Why, as a wide receiver, would you ever want to get hit by a big guy? No offense, I'm a little guy. That ain't something that I'm looking forward to. All right, stay back outside in the tunnel. All right, same thing, tempo, taking too long. Everybody getting up and down. All right, just running the play. Okay, they're running a stunt where they're gonna stab technique their C-gap defender. Normally run fit him, but his eyes are bad out here looking at this single wide receiver and doesn't run fit the C-gap. All right, so it's just one of those things. You're able to take advantage of some of the stuff that they're doing.
Hey, Dave, we're going to have to wrap it up so that we can honor the other clinics. But
yes, sir.
I wanted to thank you for sharing with us and wish you the best of luck. And thank you again for coming and taking time out of your busy day. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. I'm putting my number in the group chat so these guys can have it if they need it.
And while you're doing that, I am sorry to Coach Thurmond. I typed a little answer privately and it took him off the screen because he's down at Sweetwater where I grew up and played against and have friends that I've coached with. So I typed him something, so I didn't mean to take that off the screen, Coach Thurmond.
No, you're good. And my number's now in the Zoom chat. If you call, I probably won't answer, but if you send me a text first so I know who it is and learn to save numbers, I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Coach Rice, again, thank you. Sorry I got a little long-winded. I just get excited about that stuff.
Coach, I'd stay here. I would stay here, and I'm sure some of the other guys would, but we gotta under instructions to go on to the next clinic.
Oh yeah, but for everybody else that's on here or needs anything, my number's in there. Please don't be afraid to send me a text with your name. And again, if you're in Houston or if you guys ever need anything, Coach Rice knows I'm willing to talk ball with anybody, and I'm willing to share anything because I didn't create this stuff. I got it from somebody else.
Thanks a lot, Dave. We appreciate you, buddy.
All right, gents. Y'all have a good night.